What up, folks? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Brando, and this is Truly BTV. And I know this is gonna be a different video, out of the ordinary compared to what I usually upload. But I just feel like, it's only right for me to finally fill you in with what I've been dealing with these past, couple months. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the In the Clutch podcast episode 101, me and the boys discuss, our semi situation, that happened, in the past, 2 years or whatnot. And honestly, what I really went through these past couple months. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that episode, just I'll fill you in and whatnot. Around January 6th, not January 6th, I'm sorry, it was a June 6th to be exact. I woke up pretty much on the morning, gasping for air, not feeling, the usual. I was weak on my left arm and, left leg. And, despite me going to work that day, which is crazy, I still, felt terrible. And that's when, I was rushed to the hospital later on that night, and it was determined that I suffered a minor stroke. Now, just like I said in the podcast, me suffering a minor stroke, I had a million questions in my head, why am I suffering a stroke at this age? Why am I dealing with this, right now? What did I do to have a minor stroke? What could have I done to prevent, me having, a minor stroke? And I believe there's some medical term that they call it, but I'm just gonna, of course, I'm just gonna call it, what it originally is, a minor stroke. So. June 6th, it was around 12 o'clock p.m. I was pretty much rushed into, the ER, and I was telling them, my symptoms, what I'm feeling, and despite, me being in the waiting room and stuff, when there was, kind of like a few people in there, the people that check you in, the ER and whatnot, they basically said, oh, okay, just make your way through those doors if you can, and I felt that was kind of odd because. When you're in the emergency room, you gotta wait in the waiting room. No, as soon as I walked in there and told them my symptoms, they directly told me to walk through there. So I'm walking in there, I sit in like this, kind of like this hospital room. I check my temperature, and, my blood pressure was, sky high. And, which was nothing new to me. I've dealt with high blood pressure for around, 5 years. And despite the lack of medication I was told to get on, I'll maybe take some for a couple months and, never, fill up my prescription. I'll just kind of wave it off. That was my first mistake. So and I'm in there, the doctor is telling me, oh, why is your blood pressure so low? Do you not have medication, this and that and the third? And I'm like, no. And so anyway, like, okay, they transfer me to another room. That's when I laid down. And it's just, feeling of what I didn't know at the time was a minor stroke. It was just, climbing up. It was just getting worse. Before you know it, I felt, very dizzy, very sluggish, even more. And, even to where, I don't know if that could be the medication that was given to me, or possibly it's just, it was the minor stroke, taking a toll on me. Because the crazy thing about it, there's no medication for suffering a stroke. You unfortunately, or a minor stroke or a major stroke, whatever it is, you just have to let it take its toll, which is crazy. So as I'm in there, as the hour goes by, I'm feeling worse and worse and worse. Then pretty much it was around maybe 3 o'clock. I'm just completely in a daze. The medication and the stroke is pretty much just, taking a toll on me. And I'm laying down, one of the nurses, or, whatever you want to call him, I don't know exactly what he is, but pretty much he escorted me from that room to, the ICU. And, during that time, I was just completely out of it. I really didn't know what was going on, but yet I was aware, but then I wasn't, which is, kind of strange, what I mean? And so all I remember seeing, I'm just looking up, pretty much, getting hauled off, in a hospital bed. And, I'm seeing, just lights just constantly pass by, we go to the elevator, and, before you know it, I'm just completely like gone. I'm just, out of it. I have no control of anything what's going on. I feel much, much weaker. And, before you know it, I'm in the ICU. And there's a crowd of nurses that pretty much, removing, my clothes, putting me in a robe. And, you know, which is still just, you know, out of the ordinary for me, because it's nothing I never experienced before. You know, all I can really control was my thoughts, like, man, what is going on, you know, but yet I couldn't really control, you know, my movement or anything. You know, there was no stopping that. So before you know it, pretty much in the hospital gown, they check me, you know, they give me more medication, you know, they check my organ, you know, vital organs, you know, they, you know, drew blood from me. And that's when I'm like, at this point, it was around maybe like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I need to text my mom and tell her what's going on. Because, you know, like I said, we really didn't know what was going on. So, you know, I even told her, you know, like, you know, when she dropped me off, I'm like, Mom, you know, you just go home. You know, I'll text you, you know, when I'm okay or when I need to get picked up. And, you know, I text my mom. I was like, hey, Mom, you know, they're saying that currently I'm dealing with a minor stroke. And she just, you know, completely, you know, she rushed to the hospital, you know, didn't even go to work that day. It was around like 6 o'clock, I believe. And that's when she, you know, she came to the room, you know, the ICU room. And, you know, right there is just, that's when it really hit me. I'm like, wow, I'm really, you know, going through this. Now, once again, you know, me being young, you know, I've been, you know, kind of like, you know, overweight person since the age of 8, since I was a little kid. But yet, you know, me being active, yet I always, you know, was overweight, you know, since I was I want to say maybe 7, 8 years old. And it always bothered me, you know, being overweight. I never liked it. I knew there was something that needed to be done. Even as a little kid, I remember, I think it was in the 1st grade, and I was probably like 9 years old. I was like, you know what, I need to, you know, I need to, you know, get in shape. Of course, I didn't know nothing about, you know, getting in shape or, you know, whatnot. Basically, what I'm saying is, you know, me being overweight all these years, you know, it just takes a toll on your body, you know, as you get older. And despite me having that, you know, mentality and like, all right, I know what I need to do, you know, I need to get in shape, yet I fell off the wagon many times. I had no control of my eating. Once again, despite me, even as an adult, from teenager to an adult, I've always been overweight, but yet very active, you know, kid, you know, even, you know, teenager, you know, to a man now. But yeah, there's one thing I will say is that I could never really control my eating. There's maybe a couple months where, you know, I was able to like, all right, you know, let me kick this into high gear, you know, I would control my eating, you know, of course, exercise, but yet pretty much it was the bad outweighs, you know, the good. And once again, I fell off, and, you know, I just got back into that comfort zone and horrible eating. You know, like I said, you know, years ago, I was told to get on, you know, control my blood pressure, you know, watch what I eat, you know, take medication for the time being. And like I said, it was in one ear and out the other. You know, I really didn't take it seriously, you know, I'm got to be honest. When I was in a hospital bed in the ICU, you know, something really clicked. I'm like, okay, despite the nurses coming in and, you know, telling me like, oh, you're young, this and that, you know, it was just still the fact that, you know, this is happening to me. Pretty much that morning around maybe 7, 8 o'clock, that's when I guess, you know, some nurses, they're like, you know, changing their shifts, you know, the overnight crews leaving in the morning, you know, nurses are coming in. Before you know it, you know, when I woke up again, you know, someone active, you know, I turned my head and I just see a crowd of nurses, you know, looking at me, you know, they're talking, I guess they're analyzing stuff. And there was one nurse, and then there was one guy that wasn't even in a doctor suit or even a nurse suit, nothing. He was in regular clothes, and, you know, he looked like somebody from House, you know, the TV show House. And I'm like, you know, okay, obviously he looked like he's probably the main head, you know, doctor, whatever you want to call him. You know, they come in and stuff, and, you know, basically they're saying like, okay, you are dealing with a minor stroke, and, you know, I'm currently dealing with it. And, you know, they're constantly telling me that, you know, I'm young, you know, I'm 33 years old. That, you know, I'm like, okay, that's fine. When does this end? But at the same time, you know, it really just hit me. You know, I, and like so many others, you know, neglected our health. You know, what could I have done to, you know, to you know, prevent this? And just like I said, you know, in the podcast, when I was in that hospital bed that first day, despite anything that I was going with, you know, just me being stressed out about, you know, my current situation, you know, financial situation, pretty much, you know, being pissed off at the world, despite me having a very, you know, positive, you know, funny, happy-go-lucky character at work, As soon as I clock out and go home, it was like back to reality. You know, I was just so depressed, eating terribly, you know, just mad at the world. Really makes you think I really took life for granted. Anything that I was going through, and which I understand everybody goes through stuff. But the term that was in my head was, you know, it could be worse. You know, I had many situations where I can, you know, fix, you know, my situation, but yet I procrastinated too much. You know, I prolonged the situation. Pretty much I neglected so much. I'm like, all right, you know, whatever I'm dealing with, I'm gonna get it done one day, or, you know, the next day, or this, that, and the third. And, you know, all that just led up to, you know, June 6th. You know, me just, you know, having that stroke. And I'm like, if I can really just turn back time, you know, if there's any way I can. And, you know, I know, you know, that's, you know, humanly impossible to do. The second day I was in there, my words started, you know, slurring. I started stuttering a lot, and I was just completely out of it. You know, nurses would come in every like 30 minutes, you know, to check on me, you know, ask me questions. You know, I was just completely out of it. You know, I was, you know, my words were just completely slurring.
For any overweight person over there, it's looking to eat that last piece of chicken, that one double cheeseburger, that pizza, Chinese food, that just anything just super greasy, and it's not healthy for you. Make sure you think twice before you eat that, because I didn't. You know, I had a minor stroke and paralyzed on my left side, left arm, left leg. But there's still hope. Yes, it will be a long recovery, 100%. I guarantee you. I believe it. It's just a challenge. It's beyond the uphill battle. Just think twice, man. Let's get right. Because you never know what might be worse.
I was constantly sleepy due to the medication, and due to, I think, you know, the minor stroke, you know, finally, you know, ended. And yeah, that's when, you know, certain things just shut down. I'm talking all day for maybe like a week straight. I was just completely sleepy. But despite that, I couldn't sleep. You know, I was, you know, laying down. And, you know, me, I'm the type of person, you know, when I sleep, you know, I sleep on my stomach. I always have. You know, I couldn't do that. You know, I had an IV in me. I had some, you know, these stickers, you know, these monitors, you know, constantly all around my, you know, my stomach and my chest. And, you know, that was low-key like prison for me. Very uncomfortable to where, you know, I couldn't sleep. You know, I felt horrible. I had a CPAP on me, and I didn't like that, you know, for a couple of days. And I had no choice, you know, I had no choice pretty much but to sit up and, you know, sit right. And like I said, it was just beyond uncomfortable. Pretty much I was not used to that at all. I think the following day, that's when my whole left side completely just shut down. I had no movement in my left hand, no movement in my left, you know, foot. And that was just beyond scary to me. Pretty much, you know, all I can do there is just, you know, hope for the best and pray. And, you know, in my head, prior to, you know, me having, you know, my stroke, I was just so aggressively thoughtful to where, like, oh, if something happened to me, you know, then so be it. You know, I did my best on this earth. You know, I don't want, you know, I'm not scared, you know, to, you know, I don't want to say the exactly, you know, word, you know, on there, because, you know, YouTube is, but, you know, I'm like, yeah, it is what it is, you know, this and that. And I was, you know, just having, you know, a very awful mentality. But until it got real, laying in the hospital bed, you know, having that minor stroke, all I can do is pray. You know, I'm like, Lord, I understand, you know, whatever happens, you know, it's completely my fault. But, you know, dear God, you know, I don't want to leave this earth just right now. It's like, it's crazy. You take so much stuff for granted, you know, once you're really in a situation to where you can't fully control during the time being. You know, despite all the nurses, you know, even my mom, my family and stuff telling me, like, oh, you're young, you're recovering. You know, I have, you know, a couple of homies that say, hey, my father had a minor stroke, and, you know, he made a full recovery, man. You got this, B, you got this. And yeah, in my head, despite that, you know, keeping me going, there was still that small little thought that I'm like, what if I don't make it out of here? Once again, I felt like, there was nobody to blame but myself. Despite me being so mad, I'm like, I just, I couldn't do nothing but blame myself. My grandfather, that passed away, around 4 years ago, he would always tell me, take care of your health, watch what you eat, watch yourself, your health, you all you got. And, me being a kid, my cousins and, my siblings and my, aunts and uncles, we somewhat grew up, seeing my grandfather, being diabetic, watching what he eats. Even as a kid, I was somewhat, oh, why does this don't taste good? This is the only thing we have to eat. But yet, not understanding that that's all he, can really eat. Of course, low sodium, foods. And, all I can think about is just, my grandfather. That I felt like I kind of maybe disappointed him, because, he always told me basically, watch, take care of yourself. And I felt like, I just, neglected him and stuff. Try not to get teary-eyed. I did too much crying on the podcast, so. But all that was just, running through my head. My mother, throughout the whole, first, week, despite her, being, a store manager, had, go to work, she just, spoke to her, region manager, said, like, hey, I have to be here for my son. So my mom was there, just, day after day. And I remember, just telling her, I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry, you got to be here. I'm just, I'm just out of it, completely. Again, as the days, move forward, my father came, and, my father, as soon as he saw me, he shook my hand, and he was, he was, in tears saying, it's not your fault. I'm getting, teary-eyed because, I haven't seen my dad, for a while. And, despite, he was there, pretty much, just like my mom, day after day, he would go home, shower and whatnot. He may have to go to work some days, but yet he was fully there. And, like, despite any situation, I had, I was like, it was just water under the bridge, with him. Like, the fact that, I got, both my parents here for me, I just felt like, a little kid, laying in the hospital bed, just, so helpless. As the days went by, my taste just disappeared. And I couldn't even eat the hospital food. I'm like, what is going on? Why does everything taste, like Play-Doh? It was just bizarre. I did not know what was going on. I was telling the nurses, they fully did not know. And I said, maybe this is the medication, or, the stuff that's been injected to me. I can feel the aftertaste, but now I'm at a point to where, I can't even eat, what y'all giving me. What is going on? And, the doctors couldn't explain it. Said, maybe you may have some type of, metallic feel or something. Like, no, ma'am, nurse, this is not no metallic, minor, aftertaste. I'm like, I cannot eat nothing. Everything just tastes completely sour and still. And to an extent, very, you can't really, describe, the type of, taste. So, I want to say a week later, I started doing, physical therapy. Or they asked me like, hey, we would like to help, get up if you can. And, me, I'm like, okay, I've laid in this bed for a couple of days, maybe, my leg is getting, more stronger. And no, I had no feeling in, my hands on my legs. Yeah, I can feel, me, rubbing, my hands, my foot. But yet I had no motion. Like, just the fact that mentally, I know I'm lifting my fingers, my toes. When I look down, there's absolutely no motion. And once again, that just completely scared me. I just kept telling myself, how did I get into this situation? So anyway, doing physical therapy, they helped me. I got up for the first time and pretty much I fell. And that's when, all hell just broke loose. Technically, I was not supposed to get up. Let me just wind it real quick. It was at nighttime, I had to pee. I'm like, what, let me try my best. I got up. One little, I think I bumped into, maybe the chair or something. I just completely fell. And that's when the alarm rang and everything. The nurses came in, and then now it's at the point to where, these nurses really got strict. I'm like, you cannot move at all. They put an alarm on my bed to where, me trying to, even when I try to toss and turn, try to make myself comfortable, the alarm beep. And I'm like, what is going on? Just pretty much I just had to stay still. There was at one point to where they were saying like, okay, I'm not getting enough, fluids. And I'm pretty much, since I'm pretty much restricted from using the restroom for, peeing, they have to put, a device in me that, at the moment I did not know what it was. Pretty much it helps me, go use the restroom, helps me pee. And I remember the nurses telling me, it's like, okay, for a split second, it's gonna hurt. I'm like, okay, once again, I'm still just out of it, medication and whatnot. As she inserts it in, I remember just yelling as loud as I can. Pretty much it's I can't even describe it, maybe like a cuppenter or something like that. Pretty much it's a device that goes into your urethra. And it was just painful feeling. And to where I messed up at to where, I couldn't, when I wanted to pee on command, that's when I really messed myself up. So it's a device to where like you don't even have to push yourself, to use the restroom. Pretty much it just takes the urine out of you throughout the days. But despite that, I was telling the doctors every 30 minutes, like, doctor, can you please take this out of me? It's just painful. And they say, you have to get used to it. I'm sorry, we can't take it out of you. Eventually on the third day of me having it in there, I felt like it wasn't in there at all. I'm like, okay. And so they took it out, and once again, it just felt painful for that couple seconds. But anyway, it was just hell. But once again, it was just very, very uncomfortable first time experience, having all these doctors, helping me do the simple stuff that I could have been able to do at home before I had my stroke. The second week, I finally, doing physical therapy, and once again, it just felt like I had no control over anything. I couldn't walk as much. I was very sluggish. They was telling me to do stuff that I was trying my hardest to do, the most simplest things that was just so easy for me, yet I could not do them. At one point, I was like, am I gonna be like this forever? I was trying my best not to think negative. There was times to where, I cried for a couple seconds, but in the back of my mind, as soon as I express my tears of frustration, I'm like, you know what? No tears. There's no tears and nothing that's gonna help me out the situation. Other than just, okay, think of, a scenario, what can I do to improve myself day by day? So as I started, doing, working with the nurses, or the physical, therapy trainers, I realized, day by day, my walking started getting better. There was at a point to where, I was completely tired of being in the hospital. This was the second week, I was telling my mom, which was still there, she was with me, every step of the, every night, every day. I'm like, Mom, can I, please, go outside, you can just, wheel me out. And, we did. It just felt good, despite that, me, what I was going through, like, okay, I'm outside, have the sun beaming on me. The hospital was freezing completely, every day. I look down and I'm able to, wiggle one of my toes. And I was just so joyful at that moment. All I can do is just start crying. I'm like, Mom, I'm getting my motion back. And, prior to the next day, I'm, early in the morning, physical therapy, I'm able to move, my hand again, my left hand. Mind you, before this, it was just completely still. I had no control over that. And once again, I just started, crying like a little baby. I'm like, oh my God, I'm able to, get my motion back, which was, I feel like it was a huge sign. The fact that I'm like, okay, wow, I'm making improvements. Maybe it's not all bad for me. Those little minor improvements, motivated me more to, do what I can do, in physical therapy. I was proving myself, I was so determined to walk. Of course, it was a rough start, but, next thing you know, day by day, I was getting, my strength back, in my legs. The nurses, they were cheering me on, I'm like, oh my God, you're walking so much better and stuff. To where, at one point I was walking, I went from a wheelchair, using a walker, to using a cane. And it was just amazing to me. Now, currently, as you can see, anybody from the Clutch Squad, I'm sure y'all watched the vlogs. I'm at a point I'm at a point now to where I really don't even need the cane. I'm walking, better, due to, of course, when they told me when I was, discharged from the hospital, they said I cannot lay down all day. I gotta, do some type of movement, which I have been doing. My cousin, my older cousin, he invited me to his house that, he just moved in, had a pool, and I started, doing aquatic therapy, in which, I looked it up. It's one of the best exercises for stroke recovery. And I felt like that was just a big help. They were just so motivating, to me and stuff. During this whole situation, I just had so much, love and support, from everybody. I posted that, post, on, Instagram, just telling, the Clutch Squad, just my followers that what I was dealing with. And I literally did not think I would have so much love and support, from y'all. My friends, we talked about this, my bro Zay, I hit him up that day. He was the only one I was talking to at the time. And within 30 minutes later, I get a text from Ross, and Dub saying like, yo, we're on the way. And, my other partner, Kedrick, which he had, prior engagement to. And he's like, yo, before I deal with this, when I take care of that, I'm heading straight to the hospital. That was just amazing, amazing feel to me that, that day I had, my bro was there, one of my old, one of my dad's friends, which I consider, my uncle, which I haven't seen in years, he came to visit me. Distant family members that I have not seen, in probably like 10 years, they reached out to me, wishing, the best for me and stuff. I just feel, nothing but love in that situation. Like I said, when I was in the hospital bed, feeling so constricted, the only thing I wish for is just, be at this hospital and just chop it up, with my brothers, with my homies and stuff. And if you haven't seen, on any Clutch page, these past couple weeks have been, just a lot. So I feel like the highlight of my summer, because, my summer started bad, me being in the hospital. When I finally got discharged from the hospital, it was a relief because, despite, the nurses, which, I can't, commend them enough for taking care of me. I didn't want to be there, at all. I had my challenges, I had my days. Shout out to all the real nurses out there that, really care for you, that, that are really there for you. There's nurses that I would have never thought that would help me in situations, despite them being paid to do that, I just, can't thank them enough. The physical therapy, it really helped me. They were just so kind to me, I truly can't thank y'all enough. But despite me being finally out the hospital and being excited, I was telling myself, okay, there's no way that I'm never gonna deal with this situation again. And one of the main things that I feel like was a huge, contribution to my amount of stroke was a poor diet. While I was in there, I think the first couple of days, there was a doctor that came in to me. I think he was just temporarily there. He kept it real with me, which I like. He was one of those doctors that was basically telling me like, hey, hey, yeah, you're overweight, so here's a whole bunch of pills, bam, you'll be back. No. This doctor, he told me something real. He's like, look, one of the biggest issues right now, somebody your age, and just, in society right now, is just unhealthy eating. The only thing I can really think of, while I was prior to this situation was, I was known for being in a terrible comfort zone. That comfort zone where you just pretty much X out everything, what, you're going through. You're at home, watching TV, laying down all day, and just eating, the worst of the worst foods. And that was me on a daily basis. To where at one point, I just not care. I didn't care because I was comfortable in the situation. But in my situation, what did I get out of, being in that comfort zone? Little did I know that it was a very dangerous, comfort, space. And I know for a fact that I'm not the only one that dealt with that. So despite me being, in this situation of road to recovery, finally able to, move, finally able to really, use my left hand, just now getting my taste buds back, me dropping 50 pounds, which is crazy. I mean, mind you, this happened, my stroke happened over maybe like 2 months ago. Despite me not being able to, eat anything or whatnot, now, we're in, August. I dropped 50 pounds. I'm looking, like how I looked, back in 2012, which is crazy. Mind you, that's like, 11 years ago. 11, maybe 12 years ago. It's just amazing that despite what I was dealing with, okay, I'm looking better. I'm improving. I'm at a point where I really don't need a walker at all. I'm doing so much. I'm not really, depending on nobody, despite me having still, some help. I feel like it's only right, that I want to just give awareness to what I went through. I don't wish this on nobody. We take life so much for granted, and I feel like I had a new perspective, despite me being in the hospital. Due to the Lord's work, I got out, I'm definitely watching what I eat. And which was crazy, I maybe got my taste maybe like 2 weeks ago back to where I can eat, certain foods, I don't have that horrible after, taste no more. It was at a point where just smelling some type of food, I started, gagging up. I'm like, man, what is this? What is going on? I don't have to deal with that no more. But I feel like this is one of the first challenges, like, okay, got my taste buds back, still watch what you eat. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna keep it honest with you guys. There's some foods that I'm just completely scarred by eating. I didn't even want to have a cheat day of certain type of meals. The last thing I remember eating prior to me having my stroke, the night before, the last thing I remember eating, was a Cinnabon. And my new location at my job, there's a Cinnabon literally right across, from where I work at. To where I smell it every day. And, I remember, I was only at that, new location maybe within 2 weeks. And I say I ate Cinnabon maybe like 5 times. Just back to back to back of just, that, over sugary, pastry. And I was telling a doctor about this, the doctor's like, dude, the Cinnabon is like 800 calories. So despite me being, eating, terrible, that day and then, finish it off with Cinnabon, pretty much, I was just hurting my body, internally to where, my heart just couldn't take it no more, basically. So I feel like, it's just my job, it's my testament. I just want to educate, people, that's listening to me, from the Club Squad or just anybody in general. If you're overweight, you're dealing with that comfort zone, you're depressed, you're sad, you're mad at the world. Believe me, I get it. I was there. That very, polite, overweight guy that constantly ate, that, know for a fact that, you're not, you're a lonely soul. You feel like there's nobody there for you, there's nobody that loves you. All you want to do is like, all right, let me shield myself from the world and just, be in that comfort zone and eat. Believe me, I was there. I 100% understand what you're dealing with. But, you cannot let that be the end game, of your situation. So many people, I feel like so many people that look just like me, they're just taking their health for granted. And like I said, I wouldn't want none of y'all to deal with what I went through. We gotta control our eating habits. We gotta control our high blood pressure. My dad, was telling me, how high blood pressure, runs, in our family, diabetes, which I thought I had diabetes. I was waiting for the doctor to tell me, luckily I don't. So I'm like, bet. So, seeing high cholesterol and all these health problems going through both sides of my family, I have no choice but to get myself together. As a 33-year-old man, that loves food, you just can't let that consume you, control you. I could have passed away in the hospital. It could have been worse for me. Despite me being so young, 33 years old, passing away over something that I could have controlled prior to that. You see so many people, around our age with health problems. And like I said, I feel like it's just my right, just to help y'all. So I'm urging y'all, anybody, young, old, anybody that's constantly, dealing with these situations, despite not having a stroke, a heart attack, but you're constantly eating terrible, feeling like crap. Once again, yes, I'm still in recovery from having a stroke, but I haven't never felt this, clear, so empty, so amazing. Because I no longer have, these horrible foods, in me right now. And like I said, yes, it's going to be a long journey, There's going to be times, I feel like, I want to, you know, indulge in some stuff. I'm at a point that's where I don't want to have cheat days, maybe a cheat meal. Because the cheat day is just like, oh, I have a free day of eating nothing but crap. Like, no, like I said, there's certain things I really just don't want to touch. So maybe I drop, another 50 pounds. So, to where, I'm fully healed. I got full strength in my leg, and my arm to where I can hit the gym. Oh, because believe me, brother, as soon as I make a full recovery, going straight to that gym. Even before that, doing current exercises, now something that can manage me, anything that can, get me to where that I feel more confident that I can live, a longer life. Folks, we see it in our family, we see, in society, there's so many people at a young age dealing with these health problems. They're dealing with, high blood pressure, they're, dealing maybe with, high cholesterol. We see all these situations, we deal with all these situations, but yet we find ourselves in a damn drive-thru. Now, I'm not going to be one of those person that constantly bash fast food to an extent, because I really don't want, the upper people, trying to, keep their army and stuff like that. But, it's all about, moderation, manage it. In society, we just eat too much bad, stuff. And, you really got to tell yourself, I have to make this change. And despite you not dealing with this situation, just use me as an example. Because prior to that, despite me being, overweight, I felt good. I felt, ain't nothing's going to happen to me. I'm straight. And then, no. They call high blood pressure the silent. I don't want to say it. I don't want to get, demonetized of this video taken down. But it is. Because, one day, 1 minute you feel fine. And next thing you know, bam, like I said, I woke up. I went to sleep, of course, full, regular as doing, like, all right, it's I'm straight. But yeah, woke up, gasping for air. I'm like, man, what is going on? So you just never know. Don't be like me. Don't wait till, I'm in a hospital bed fighting for my life. Just use me as motivation. I will eventually, start a separate channel, just dedicate, just documenting my, my journey, of my new healthy lifestyle, giving pointers, advice and stuff, because I just feel like, I'm still here for a reason. Prior to, before me having, minor stroke, me dealing with so many, terrible, situations, of course, what happened, within the clutch, I just hit rock bottom, but yet I constantly kept getting DMs and messages like, hey, just, meeting, fans, that, at my jobs, like, hey, are you so-and-so? Yeah, that's me, people, damn near, want to cry, like, bro, you were so funny, oh my God, like, you got me through some tough times, I felt like, I'm still here for that. Honestly, I feel like, I'm here, and just, like, me, Ross and Dub, we all feel like, okay, we're here for a reason. We have, this fan base, I don't even want to call you a fan base, man. Just huge support system. The supporters, they're inspired, by us, what we do and whatnot. So I feel like it's just my right to just continue to inspire more. I'm here for, I'm here for a reason. I want to inspire more people, just to dedicate your life to a more healthier lifestyle, because, I know, there's so many people just like me. Hell, we see, on, TLC, on YouTube, these people, 500, 600, 700 plus pounds, and they're dealing with this situation. You can be that, you can be stuck in that situation as well. You don't even have to be, weigh that much, and still, deal with the situation. Hell, I weigh, maybe 350 to 370, around I had my stroke. And, the doctor was telling me there's, people, big or small, tall or short, regardless, you having a healthy, unhealthy lifestyle, you could deal with those situations too. So once again, I just feel like it's just my right, man. I just want to inspire more people, man. Get out, exercise, eat better. Your health is your wealth, people. We see so many people, no longer here, at a very young age. And I feel like, it's just not fair. You're robbing your life. We're here, till we're not, seeing so many people pass away in their 40s, 50s, 60s, it's just not right. I feel like it all starts, healthy eating. meditate, control your anger or whatnot. So like I was saying, learn from me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here. I cannot thank God enough that I'm still here. I feel like, I still have a mission. I'm still here for a reason. In the clutch post, me, Booker T, Mark Henry, I got nothing but, the shock, love, and support. Like, Brent, Truly, you look good. What are you doing? That's just amazing the fact, I'm inspiring people already just to make, a different lifestyle change. And I just got to keep the ball rolling on that. So once again, folks, Clutch Squad, friends and family that are watching this, I truly love y'all. Could I thank y'all enough for supporting me while I was in a hospital bed? I really needed that. Once again, my mom, despite my mom getting on my nerves, like, the average mom does, she was there for me every day. It was at a point to where, she was still, had to, work from the hospital, right, by my side, still doing what she needed to do. You know what? I'm human. I'm gonna keep it rolling. Mama, I truly love you, and I can't thank you enough for that. Dad, I can't thank you enough too for being there. Y'all don't understand, but y'all energy being there, it just built me up. It built my confidence up more to it. Like, okay, I'm gonna make it. The average parent, says, hey, I gotta be here for my kids. I feel like I still gotta be there for them. For my mom, that's, my brother, my sister. But anyway, enough of the crying and tears and stuff. I'm just happy to still be here, and the fact that I can still continue to motivate, educate people, just to get right, ladies and gentlemen. All you have is your health. Your health is your wealth. And once you make progress, you don't want to look back. Hell, despite I have my days where I'm a little sluggish, I look in the mirror and I'm like, damn, I can wear a 2X shirt now. I wasn't able to wear a 2XL shirt to back in 2012. That's the last time I remember. And, just not still having, full motion on my arm, looking at me in the mirror, I'm able to, order. I'm able to buy, shop at Target now, which is crazy. I just recently bought some clothes from Target. I'm officially a, Target, fanatic. So that just motivates me more to keep going. So I definitely don't want to look back. The pizza, the burgers, the fried chicken, and all that's delicious. But I'm at a point to where, damn it, I don't even want to touch that no more. I don't. So I'm fully, confident that this ain't gonna mess me up. But the journey's not gonna be easy. And like I said, that's the fun part. You can't cry about the situation, man. All you can do is climb out. And like I said, I tweeted that a couple of days ago. Never cry, climb. I just feel like, climb yourself out of the situation. Like, okay, I have another challenge, that I'm approaching. How am I gonna tackle it? How am I gonna conquer it? How am I gonna overcome it? And honestly, man, that's just, what keeps me going. You just got to push it. So once again, this is your boy Brando. This is Truly BTV. I will eventually, of course, start uploading more, reaction channel, just my thoughts, just commentary. But it was on the right I posted this video. I love y'all, and God bless.